Lately, I've been getting a lot of messages from people asking me if I think that auto battlers as a genre, that is to say, like auto chess, Dota Underlords, teamfight tactics, are going to become the next big thing. Auto battlers came along when Dota 2 made a mod called Auto Chess, and a bunch of people started playing it, and then Valve and Riot Games followed up pretty quickly with their own versions of this auto battler. Basic idea is that you buy units from a store, put them on a chessboard, they fight each other against other players in the game, usually a maximum of 8, and then somebody wins, and you have top 8. Top 4 is usually really good, bottom 4 is not so good. So the question is, will these games take over as a new genre on Twitch, or you know, just a popular genre? And said another way, like if we go into the directory, are we going to see teamfight tactics here for the foreseeable future, or some auto battler as a type? Do auto battlers have enough staying power as a genre? And I think I want to make a case that I don't think they do. I don't think that auto battlers are going to be equivalent to battle royales or FPS or even MMOs within the next like 6 to 8 months. And it's really too early to tell. I'm going to make some arguments from like a stat standpoint. It's really too early to tell. It's more of just like an opinion thing, just having spent a long time on this and just like looking over this sort of stuff. So I think I want to outline a couple of things. The most fun thing to do will be, well, let's look at the stats. There's really 3 games we should concern ourselves with right now that are the auto battler genre. If we look at auto chess has pretty much fallen off the map, both in terms of player base and in terms of popularity. Over a 30-day period, we see an 85% decrease in hours watched, 62% decrease in hours broadcast. And what we're doing is we're using Twitch right now to get some idea of the semblance of the popularity of the game, right? This doesn't really necessarily indicate the popularity of the game, but we can look at it and we can discern if it's good or bad. It is oftentimes good to compare these two things. You can see similarities. 85% reduction in average viewers and 63% in average channels. So this is not good. Auto chess not doing so good. Same type of thing for Dota Underlords. We can't take a look at this because the 30-day is going to look insane, right? Because it's only been out for 30 days at the time of this discussion. But over the 14-day, that is not great, especially for a new game. Underlords just doesn't seem to be performing. About 30 to 40% down on all categories. But that's not the big game, Devin. Let's look at the big game, Devin. All right, what's the big game, Devin? Well, it's Teamfight Tactics made by Riot Games. This game is dominating the auto battler genre, and it's doing great on Twitch. It's usually like the top 10, almost always. And viewership is up over the last 14 days, which is great. Over the last 30 days, we don't have an example because, again, the game is very new. So only the viewer ratio is down, which just means that there's more channels broadcasting it, which is actually good for the health of the game. So even though the viewer ratio, which is just the number of people that are watching per stream, is down, the actual numbers are up. Over the last week, we've actually seen a pretty big decline, and this is something I want to talk about as to why I think this might be. So the way that auto battlers operate is very much dependent on patch cycles. That is to say that like once the meta gets shaken up in the game, a lot more people tend to go watch it or go play it. What happened in the last week is that we've been on the current patch in Teamfight Tactics for quite a while. And so as a result, we're seeing a pretty big decline in interest, I think. This is a very, very high number compared to the last 7 days on Twitch in terms of decreasing viewership in this category. And I think the reason that's happening is because there really isn't a lot of differential gameplay once you figure out the meta of a game, of an auto battler. And I've been trying to figure out like how to think about this and how to explain this issue, which is I couldn't figure out exactly how to do it. But there's something about auto battlers. It's like once you figure out the patch and it's like, oh, you've got it. I understand these units are strong. This is like the stuff I could build. Then you've kind of got it, and the gameplay experience seems to diminish compared to other games like Fortnite or Magic the Gathering or games that provide a very different experience every single time. So I think the first problem is that these games are dependent on content updates, and that the games become kind of boring after a little while if you don't have those constant content updates, which Riot has done very well, is that they're updating the game almost like every week or every 2 weeks, and this has probably led to its big increase in viewership. I think the other big problem is that there's no progression mechanically. And this is something that the game differs from in other big categories. If you look at the other categories, so you look at FPS, you look at MOBA, even Minecraft. I mean, these games have progression mechanically, whereas there is no progression mechanically in TFT. You can't progress in that way. In fact, there's no progression in TFT at all. The only way to really progress is to get better little dudes. Like, and I guess if you want your like level 3 dog, you can play an extra couple of games or whatever. But that's not a meaningful driver for me of like why the game might succeed. So the other thing I want to say after no progression is passive gameplay and interactivity. You choose your little people, and then you put them on the chessboard, and then you watch them fight. And then after that, that's kind of the end of it, right? Like after that passive gameplay sort of happens, the things fight each other, and then you do it again. And so this is like more of like a casual and niche gaming experience than normal. Whereas like with Fortnite or League of Legends or over any of the top 10, right? Like in all these other games, you're really, really engaged in your gameplay, right? You never really have a lot of downtime in Minecraft. You're always doing something. Same with World of Warcraft. Same with FPS when you're in the match. Same with MOBA, right? You don't have a lot of downtime. You're constantly playing. There's more downtime in TFT, which I think lends itself to like when you actually get the decision making down and you understand what's good, you know what you're building, that diminishes the gameplay in some way. And then the last thing that I would say about it is a problem that I noticed in auto chess, which is that high skill caps are heavily RNG dependent. So what do I mean by this? What I mean is that high skill caps in the game, if we look at like in auto chess, when you take a gameplay lobby of all the top queens in the game, you would run into a problem where it was kind of just heads or tails who would win, because everybody kind of understands and doesn't make many mistakes at that point. Since the skill cap of a game like this is not as high as a game like League of Legends or Fortnite, you would have a problem where it could be player 2 that wins just because they just RNG'd harder, right? They just got better roles in their store versus someone like the players that are really good in Fortnite. You might get 4v1 one game, but like overall you're going to do much better than if you are, if you're, overall you're going to do much consistently better if you're a better gamer in a game like Fortnite or a game like League of Legends than you would in a game like TFT. This won't affect lower levels of gameplay that much, because lower levels of gameplay, people are still making enough mistakes to make up for it. But in high skill caps are heavily RNG dependent, and this is going to limit its esports potential. We saw this in Hearthstone. There's other games that are really RNG dependent that it just affected it negatively. This is not like esports is not like the end all be all of a game's success, right? Like, but it is a factor. It turns out to be about 25% of total viewership on Twitch. So there is a significant amount of people that do watch things for esports. TFT being an esport, I think a lot of people run into RNG problems. Over the long term of the game, it's going to affect it. So I would say that right now, if you look at like Fortnite and you look at the average viewers, right, 105,000 over the last 14 days. And then you look at Teamfight Tactics over the top last 14 days, it's 88,000. So it's actually like, and then the hours watched is only a 5 million differential. So like Teamfight Tactics is still killing it in terms of its stats. It looks really good. But I would say that and that's why I'm saying like statistically, this is not really shown out yet. I think it's going to take some time to really see if Teamfight Tactics is going to, or other auto battlers as a genre are going to have the staying power. It's disconcerting that other auto battlers basically just got eaten by TFT, and like TFT is like the game. And maybe another auto battler comes along, but this same concept, I just don't think as a niche it is going to do as well as FPS. And that would be like the statement that I'd want to make if I had to like make a statement. And there are plenty of games like this, right? Like no one ever expects Dark Souls to consistently get the numbers that Fortnite does, right? And no one really expects Smash or MTGA to get the numbers, or RTS, right? Like these are games with respectable followings. They're games with great gameplay, highly mechanical. They make sense. They're fun to play, but over the very long term of the game and the health, as defined by like a year or two, right? I don't think we'll see auto battlers in the top categories on Twitch, and I don't think we'll see it as anything more than like a niche game, which some people will play and enjoy. But overall, I think the staying power of FPS and MOBA and even RTS and MMO is like way stronger than auto battlers. I think auto battlers just don't have conceptually as a game, like just as the type of game they are. in their current iteration, they don't really have the staying power. And I think we're going to see teamfight tactics fall off in the next 3 to 6 months. Even if another auto battler comes along, might be popular for a while. After that, I think not so much. I just think that the problems that we listed are genre-concentric problems and don't affect other more successful games with that staying power, like FPS and MOBA. Do you agree? Yes, no, maybe so. Let me know. Time will tell.